people are going to look and see how you've taken care of employees in the past. And so if you want to position yourself as an employer of value, and if you're competing for the top talent, you want to have that impression of saying, hey, if something does happen where we have to lay people off, we're taking care of them, we treat our employees well. I'm Ryan Miller with the Employment Boost Outplacement and Career Services team. Today we're going to talk about a recent Wall Street Journal article that talked about how companies are shifting away from laying people off in person and are instead opting more for less personal ways of administering layoffs, such as messaging, emails, and even video calls as well. So if it's possible, administering a layoff either in person or at the very minimum in a one-on-one session is going to be the most ideal. Really, when people are let go of an organization, there's not much you can do to reduce the negative emotions that are going to come with that. However, time after time again, it's been consistently reported that employees value transparency as well as just the ability to connect with someone face to face and make the process as humane as possible. Companies obviously don't want to go through layoffs, but if you can have that feedback one-to-one and talk about the reasons behind it, it is going to make the employee have a better impression of the organization than if you were to do something impersonal over email or something that doesn't really explain the reasons behind the layoffs. I would also add that if possible, and if you have the luxury of doing so, if you can lay an employee off well before their last day with the organization, whether it's through a formal WARN notice or more of a standard offboarding period, that's going to allow the employee to wrap up their work, get some time to decompress and begin their job search as they're still receiving a paycheck with your organization. If you can do that, it's going to help what is going to be an inherently difficult situation and make it a little bit easier. Well, some of the more popular benefits are offering them severance payments that are more often than not equated to how long their tenure was with the organization, as well as COBRA health benefits as well. But there are also some really good benefits such as outplacement and career transition support that can help the employees transition effectively into their next job. Many times when people are laid off, they are focused on their work. They're not actively searching for a new position. And then if they're abruptly or suddenly transitioned out of a company, they have to start from scratch and start a brand new job search. And, we see it all the time where people are not actively updating their resumes or knowing the best way to approach a job market. And so it really prolongs their job search, and the amount of support that they need goes far beyond just severance. Severance payments will eventually run out, but it's not a long-term solution for what could be, something very heavily career impacting on someone. So we always recommend if you could provide outplacement and career transition support, that you should do that. It'll help the employee, really for the rest of their career. So we're in the age of the informed job seeker. So yes, these employees are going to be leaving your organization. You might think, hey, they're not my responsibility anymore. I don't have to take care of them anymore. But really you have to think about several things. The first is that in the age of the informed job seeker, people are going online, they're doing their research about your organizations. We've spoken in the past about the better.com layoffs and how impersonal they were and how many of the employees were devastated and felt very unsupported by a cold transition and offboarding period with better.com. And if you go and you Google better.com, one of the things that'll pop up after you type in their search into Google is better.com layoffs, right? So they actually see that if someone's looking up your company, that'll be one of the first things they find. So from a PR and press standpoint, it could potentially be devastating if you don't take care of these employees. And, there's going to be a point in time where you want to add talent to your organization's growing. People are going to look and see how you've taken care of employees in the past. And so if you want to position yourself as an employer of value, and if you're competing for the top talent, you want to have that impression of saying, hey, if something does happen where we have to lay people off, we're taking care of them, we treat our employees well. So from a PR standpoint, in a world of Glassdoor, in a world of, Fishbowl, a world that we're able to see, hey, this is what it looks like to work at an employer, it can make all the difference for you. Not only that, but there's other business benefits as well. If you provide outplacement career transition assistance, for example, you could potentially cut down on that employee's time on the job search, and it can potentially reduce your unemployment costs as well. If you have the employees sign a release to access their benefits package, whether outplacement is included or not, it can also potentially reduce legal risk that you might encounter because they may want to litigate from being laid off from your organization. So all these things wrapped in, there's really just strong business benefits to supporting your employees if a layoff does occur. So if you lay someone off via text, email, Slack message, whatever it may be, it sends the message that the employees could potentially not see themselves as big factors within the organization, as humans within the organization. Everyone talks about how they never want to be a number or just a cog in the machine or whatever that may be. But there are real morale impacts to when layoffs occur, and that, yes, obviously you would rather be retained by an organization instead of impacted by a layoff, but those who are retained do still feel the impacts of that. And if it's a bad process, if it's a process that doesn't take into account the employee's feelings or the empathy that comes with that, you could be creating devastating cultural issues within your organization if you do approach it in a non-humane way. So keep that in mind if you do have to administer layoffs. Again, I know it's one of the last things that businesses want to do, but the best thing that you can do is do them properly, humane, and take the time to conduct them thoroughly so that your employees can really mitigate that negative impact as best as possible. To stay up to date on different topics that impact your workforce, company culture, employee retainment, and really employee well-being, be sure to follow Employment Boost's LinkedIn and YouTube pages. We post content on there regularly and really try to tackle topical conversations such as this. I'm Ryan Miller, and we'll catch you on the next one.